Spawning in on the bottom right of this new map, Abiogenesis LE. We have the blue Protoss player, TheLowTemplar. His opponent in the top left, we have the orange random player spawning in once again as Zerg. We have Kingwut. And once again, to reiterate the conversation that just happened before this game started, the initial rules for the Smugmuk Invitational were that you couldn't have played like ranked StarCraft 2 in the last year, in the year of 2023. That was like the only stipulation. Unbeknownst to Jack, who invited his good friend Braden into this tournament, Braden has not played ranked StarCraft, but has played a hell of a lot of the co-op stuff, which is awesome. StarCraft 2's co-op system is like super fun, and if anybody hasn't tried that out, I highly suggest it. But Braden is definitely has put way more hours into this game than I think any of us realized, and just in playing, offline, and certainly in some of the games last week, he is a force to be reckoned with. Not unsurmountable, but he certainly does bring a lot of game knowledge to this. We are hopping into the beginning of this game. Quick natural expansion from the Zerg player. Protoss player is building an effective wall, putting that Zealot there against any possible Zergling run-bys. Fortunately for him, this is a very standard Zerg opening. We've got the 2 Zerglings purely for scouting. This Zealot will be there to deny entrance to any of those Zerglings. As the Nexus goes down for this Protoss second base, Zerglings are going to sneak in and spot that. Does look like the Zealot is slightly out of position, but a Stalker is chrono boosted out. Zealots, of course, easily able to clean up 2 Zerglings. That is no problem for them. And we're just gearing up. Ooh, early third base from our Zerg player. I like the sound of that. Does look like he's got his lair coming out now. Building a spine crawler for a just-in-case situation, which you do have to do as a Zerg player. Protoss's early game offensive capabilities are crazy. Like, each of just the basic gateway units, this early in the game, Zealots are ridiculous to try to defend unless you have like 4 or 5 roaches that can snipe at them and run away. They just have so much health and so much armor compared to any of the other like tier 0 units, the Zerglings or the Marines. Put a Zealot up against any of those, and it's pretty much hands down. The Protoss units are just stronger, and the drawback is, of course, that they're more expensive. But we do see these Zerglings moving out across the map. We don't see the metabolic boost upgrade. These are just slow Zerglings. This is an interesting oversight, or possibly an intentional thing. But it does look like that these Zerglings are just looking to do some classic Braden economic damage if they can. It does look like they have taken out a good amount. I think 4 or 5 drones went down, but were able to get easily cleaned up. Very interesting. Metabolic boost has been started, so it looks like Braden sent those Zerglings out across the map and only realized when they started to not be able to run away that, oops, that speed upgrade for these Zerglings is vitally important. A slow Zergling basically sucks. I mean, it doesn't, but the Zergling is weak, but it has a fast attack and it moves fast. So it's basically like a striker. You want to get in, do the damage, and get out as soon as possible. They don't stand up very well to big armies unless you have a ton of them. But this is a classic Braden move, the one that we saw in his games against Sam last week, where he just puts little groups of Zerglings all around the map so that if the Protoss force, which is very formidable, you don't want to go like in a head-up battle against it, but like this, if the Protoss is to move out, and like once the Zerg spots that here with his Overlord, or once he steps on the creep, these Zerglings will know, okay, now it's my time. I'm going to sneak in past and do some more economic damage. So we'll see if that happens, but we're going to focus right now, right there. Ooh, cool force field. Unfortunately, the sentry there was stuck in the front, a little bit exposed, but that's okay. Does look like the Protoss is feeling pretty good. It's only seeing about 4 or 6 Zerglings and then 1 Spine Crawler as a defensive measure. Infestors coming out, huge fungal growth, but no base army to kind of follow up on that. One more Infestor does come out. Zerglings trickle in. Those Zerglings that were once meant for run-bys now forced to come back. It does look like Zerg's kind of on the back foot here. I do think that this third base is in danger of just going down. There's no way that Zerg is going to be able to defend it with just 3 Infestors with 0 energy. He might have to pull some drones. He might have to... Here comes the Lang Flood. This might be enough to just maybe clean this out. Those Zealots are doing a ton of work taking out those Zerglings, and it does look like there's one very low Zealot left. But he's going to continue to push. These Infestors slowly regaining that energy. Not quite enough for another fungal growth just yet. Queen is going to go down. One more Spine Crawler is being built, and I think this reinforcement of Zerglings is going to be the nail in the coffin for this initial Protoss push. Third base of the Zerg did end up staying up, and all of the drones were able to successfully hide. So all in all, the Zerg did a great job of... Oh, I didn't even realize this! The Oracles out back killing so many of these main base workers. Oh my goodness. If last weekend we were talking about how effective the harassment was from our Zerg player Kingwut against Sam's Protoss, but man, Jack, huge hit with that like Stalker Zealot force at the beginning, and meanwhile he was just building up to doing some Oracle harassment of his own. Does look like those are going to be caught by the Infestors, but they really don't want to spend all of their energy just to chain fungal growth and hopefully maybe take out these 2 Oracles. Better to just put the Spore Crawlers in each base and call it good. Keep your queens on the standby and start to build up that energy for the defense of, oh my gosh, more Oracles coming out. And see, this is the kind of stuff that is kind of hard to defend against if you are just a pure Infestor-based army. Infestors are great, using that fungal growth to stop and kind of slow down units, but really, you need a core army like what we have now, the Hydralisks and the Lings, in order to really capitalize on a good fungal growth. A lot of Hydralisks are going to be able to... Just kidding, those Oracles are crazy damage that they put out. I was going to say that hopefully that was going to be enough to to clean up these Oracles, but man, as long as they keep their energy... Ooh, Queens are a great defensive unit against this. It does look like with some good transfuses, They are able to... Oh my gosh, there's 2 more oracles! They just never stop coming. Are going to get taken out. And finally Zerg can maybe have a chance to breathe. Zerglings streaming out across the map. Protoss's third base has been established. Some cannons and a shield battery, but these zealots are fighting just outside that battery range. Still going to be enough to dissuade these Zerglings from moving in any closer. Solid cannon wall here. And no fourth base there. Are these oracles going to use... They are going to try and clean up these Zerglings. Using precious energy, though, I wonder if maybe the energy could have been better spent against some drones or against some of these juicier infestors. That being said, oracles are heading out once again across the map just to make their presence known, as hopefully Protoss is able to continue to build up this third base that hasn't quite had the probes added to it yet. Effectively, we are seeing a 2-base Protoss right now as he is transitioning into the Void Ray composition instead of this pure Oracle harassment that we've seen. That has been super effective so far. Does look like a good amount of macro hatcheries going down. And these oracles are going to be going to be forced to either make something happen or to pull back to the safety, because these mutalisks are not something that the oracles are able to deal with. Oracles cannot shoot up. But we do see adding more mutalisks, re-droning up this third base, or I guess this is the natural expansion. Just stabilizing once again, trying to build up that core army. He's got the infestors that are almost all like reaching that full energy mark. Going to be able to spit out plenty of these fungal growths and or neural parasites. That's the one that I would be scared about if I were this Protoss player with all these expensive and powerful air units. Is all it takes is a few of these infestors to just mind control even a handful and turn them against you. That being said, amazing swing around by this gateway force. There's not a whole lot that this Zerg player is going to be able to do, and his infestors are very much out of position. They're handling these Void Rays just fine, but we see that the ground army is just swinging in and decimating the actual mineral line in this third base. Void Rays continuing to be chain fungled. There's still plenty of fungal growths left in these infestors, but we ran into the same position. There's no main army left for the Zerg to be able to clean up this Protoss force. I think these Void Rays have done a great job of just distracting the Zerg player. But yeah, these Zealots are going to... All of the Stalkers, however, have been taken out, and these the Zealots are now on a timer as they are not able to deal with the Mutalisks, and they are eventually going to be picked off. The Void Rays have taken their... took that as their cue that they need to make something happen, but once again, Queens are just a great defensive unit. If they have enough energy like this, they can just chain transfuse themselves and basically never run out of health. Mutalisks now sending their way across the map. They are going to catch these 2 Void Rays unawares, and that's 2 less Void Rays that the Protoss are going to be able to bring to bear in the next fight. He is desperately chasing down and does get 1 Mutalisk, but that's not the type of trade that you're really hoping to get. Mutalisks, of course, are going to be able to swing down towards the undefended... Oh, they're going to stop just shy, actually. Perhaps waiting for a better moment where the Protoss is maybe focused elsewhere. They are going to swing back in, see everything that's happening, see the carriers that are being built. They are going to get some Great hits on this mineral line of the natural expansion. Huge number of probes there that have just been rallied towards this third base, but can't make it
They're
there because
blocked by the cannon
they're
wall.
absolutely they're blocked. They can't get there to reinforce the mineral line. And if the
Carriers are out, though.
carriers are on the field, where are they? Let's see.
They're in the main.
They're in the main. They are in the main, right above the main ramp. So many probes going down. But to be fair, there were probes that hadn't been doing anything just yet. Carriers are almost at their full thing. Meanwhile, third base of the Zerg goes down once again. Loving these gateway run-bys. This is just such a good presence of mind, being constantly hit over and over again by these by these mutalisks, just doing plenty of harassment damage, but just creating a bunch of these and just sending them, YOLOing them back up towards that undefended third base of the Zerg. And it does look like the Braden Special, we do have a hidden base that should the Protoss ever figure it out, it'd be trivial to send just 3 or 4 Zealots up there to clean that up. But if it goes undefended, that could be the key to bringing Braden back into this game off the back foot. But we do see that the Zealots charging in on top of the Queens, on top of the not quite on top of the Infestors, and those fungal growths are really doing some good work. But once again, it's not quite enough. He just doesn't have the main base army to clean these up. Some cheeky burrows do mean that the Zealots won't be able to completely decimate this force, but Infestors once again out of energy and just have to watch in horror as these Zealots just go to town on anything that they can. Mutalisks and Corruptors are going to spawn and clean that up. But this is actually a really good play, just making Stalkers, because once again, Zerg doesn't have any standing ground army. These Infestors are great at slowing things down, but Zerg's just kind of running out of economy. So one of these times, a Zealot force is going to come in. The Infestors are going to slow them down, but there won't be any infrastructure, any bank to flood out the Zerglings or the Roaches that will help actually make that defense possible. Zerg is banking a whole lot on just having enough of these Mutalisks and Corruptors to win the air battle. But as we see, 4 carriers making their way in tandem with the Stalkers to lay siege against this Zerg base. It does look like there's a small defensive force also flanking the Protoss third base, just in case those air units do decide to swing down. But Zerg is able to see this awaiting Protoss army as 2 Void Rays and an additional carrier make their way. This is an intense game. If we take a look at the Protoss cam, he does know that this extra base is there for the Zerg. So now the Zerg has to defend both locations, and it does look like we are setting up as Protoss for a 2-pronged attack. And what's interesting is, what is Zerg's reaction to this attack, right? Does he bring his entire army to bear? Or does he split? It looks like he is going to try and split, because he doesn't want to let this straight into his main base. Does look like Protoss was on move command just a little bit too long. 1 carrier does go down to these Corruptors, but this is just so much strong Protoss air units. The Corruptors are all down. Queens are going down. Third base completely mopped up by the Protoss. Infestors, this core group of Infestors that's been the same since the beginning, completely out of energy once again. I think there's 1 fungal growth left between the 4 and 3 carriers. We do get a GG from Kingwut. TheLowTemplar takes game number 1. I don't want to tip my hand too much, but dang, I was very impressed with the just how well that game went for both players, really. But I'm really impressed with Jack showing up today. Like, he's really here. Like, he's playing. Because yeah, just the little that I've played against and with Braden, like, I know he's a strong contender. But man, like, the brotherly proudness is kind of flowing in me right now, if I may say so. Very interested to see now, though, in this PvP. In the top left corner, we have, as the orange Protoss, Kingwut. In the bottom right-hand corner, TheLowTemplar. Starting game number 2, TheLowTemplar is up 1 game. It does look like, with this early forge, he is preventing any unsavory game number 2. If we recall, last time Jack was in this exact same position was the first cannon rush he'd ever gone up against, and it did not end well for him. So it could be that this early forge is a symptom of that. It's maybe him getting the extra cannon early up and in place in case any of that shenanigans happens. Because if the one thing you're scared about is a cannon rush as Protoss, one thing you can do is just like place a cannon here and no probe is ever going to make it up and get you, right? Because in order for a cannon to be placed, you need a probe, and if you can prevent a probe from getting into your base, ta-da, you're safe from cannon rushes. It's a little more nuanced than that. If you're a really good cannon rusher, you can like maybe make a cannon here that can like protect your probe as it gets up here, but regardless, it doesn't look like that's what we're seeing out of Braden or Jack. I think never mind. Let me walk that back. It does look like we have a forward pylon from our orange Protoss friend Kingwut. I don't know if this is just for scouting, if this is going to be for run-bys. That probe immediately is going to die. Does get the scout off that the Nexus has not gone down yet, but it does look like both players are gearing up to set that down. TheLowTemplar's Nexus comes out just a second earlier. Twilight Council is coming down from Kingwut. And now it's all starting to become clear. If I were a betting man, I would say this Twilight Council is going to be immediately followed by a Dark Shrine. DTs straight to this mineral line. That is my my bet. And for anybody wondering, Dark Templar is a Protoss unit that is always invisible 100% of the time. Protoss notoriously have a difficult time, and okay, well, unless you have a Robobay, difficult time with cloaked units because you need to build a robo facility and then build an observer, and you kind of have to do that before the DTs come out. If they just surprise you, it's like a full 2-minute, 30-second process just to be able to see them, let alone kill them. But it does look like Blink is actually coming out, so maybe it's not a Dark Shrine. I don't see any of that wonkiness coming out, so I jumped the gun. It does look like Kingwut is actually going on the defensive, putting down 2 defensive photon cannons as he gets his natural expansion kind of up and running. TheLowTemplar building up his army. It does look like in the units tab, slightly higher probe count for our blue player, and that makes sense because he's had his second Nexus up and running for a little bit now. Does look like we have some adepts shading in. Okay, that's what this sneaky sneaky orange pylon is on the other side of the map. Got the pylons in there with the doesn't even have the glaives, but because probes are the weakest of the workers, unupgraded adepts. Ooh, that was a good block there, not letting that last guy escape. Does look like a handful of probes are going to go down to that double adept little run by, but overall, let's see, still up in probes, and the army is very healthy for the blue player right now. Observer is out on the map, so this saves against a lot of tricky cheeses that might come out at this stage of the game. Double Stargate is coming down for our orange player. What is the next tech step for the blue? It does look like he's floating quite a bit of gas and minerals there. I'm hoping that this is... Uh-oh. Froze a little bit on my screen. I don't know if anybody else saw that, but it does look like we're good to go. 2 more adepts shading in. Immortal is coming out. Double Stargate. I'm interested to see what gets built out of this for the orange. 2 adepts just sitting there menacingly, ready to attack this mineral line when this big army moves out. Kind of like those Zerglings from last game. Hopefully these guys get more utility than the Zerglings in the last game, which were forced to come back and reinforce when that big push happened. That looks like we're gearing up for a similar thing this time as well. Triple Robotics Bay. I'm wondering if we're going to see... well, it could be anything. It could be Colossus, could be Disruptors, could just be a bunch of Immortals. Does look like Immortals for now. Colossus and Disruptors are both very expensive Protoss units. Might have to wait for an extra base on top of what we've got right now. It does look like we're 1 worker short on that second base for the blue Protoss, and we might be able to feel that. But it looks like blue's still got plenty of money to pump into these big powerhouse units like the Immortal. Immortals are great in PvP, especially if we see that the opponent is doing an Immortal Stalker-based play, which I'm pretty sure that, yeah, Kingwut does have the Blink upgrade, but it doesn't look like he has built any Stalkers just yet. The potential is always there. Gateways, of course, can spawn in units immediately. Ooh, that was good. Kingwut was able to see this Protoss army of TheLowTemplar coming in. Oh, and we're going to be able to see the Disruptor. For anybody who hasn't seen these units, they send out the Nova. Oh my gosh, the Nova's missed. That big ball of orange energy, if it connects, it basically one-shots any unit, but unfortunately was not able to hit the majority of the TheLowTemplar's units. Of course, nothing is able to clean up these Void Rays from Kingwut just yet. These Immortals are going to have to either force their way in or, like this one, make its way back home, and TheLowTemplar is going to be forced to make something that shoots up. It does look like he's building his own triple Stargate. And Kingwut has some very powerful but very lonely, expensive units that I wonder if he's trying to decide, should I go in and make something happen, or should I just build back a core of Zealots and Stalkers and kind of protection, some buffer for these very expensive and very powerful but very fragile units. Does look like TheLowTemplar has an established third base. Has not sent any probes to it just yet, but of course has the potential to start transferring those from his initial base that is being mined out. Very similar position, just a little bit behind on the on Kingwut's third base here, but the Void Ray count, of course, is much higher for, well, of course, 6 Void Rays is going to be higher than 0, but Phoenix is getting added. Phoenix is, of course, an anti-air only unit. I don't like where this is going. Phoenixes need to run. They need to run. They're not good at taking out Void Rays when they are in lower numbers than the Void Rays. 3 Phoenixes are going to go down very quickly. There's 5 Stalkers total for our blue player. He cannot afford to lose any more. There's just so much in the air for Kingwut. He needs to focus on anti-air stuff, which Phoenixes, to be fair, they're decent anti-air, but I think they're only good, or they're extra good against light air units, and Void Rays do count as armored. Stalkers are a decent answer to the Void Rays, and I think if this engagement goes well, if blue is able to target fire, and if the Void Rays, I have no idea who's going to win this, honestly. It does look like, I think at the end, blue's going to be able to defend against this. He's going to lose a lot of his a lot of his Phoenixes are going to go down, but this is such a small Adepts don't shoot up. That is the one thing that Adepts are not good at. Adepts are like a slightly cheaper Stalker that have some cool utility where they can phase through and stuff, but they cannot shoot up. It has been the bane of most of the games today, is whether a unit can or cannot shoot up. Does look like 3 more Stalkers are going to be morphed in.
I think Adepts can shoot up in Phoenix's co-op army.
Oh, that makes sense. Because of Braden's like pedigree in so much of the co-op stuff. Yeah. Which makes sense because Phoenix doesn't have Stalkers, right? In co-op. Like Adept is that unit.
The Stalkers.
Yeah.
The Sentries. The Legionaries.
Totally makes sense. That's so unfortunate because if he had a few more units that can shoot up and took out those Phoenixes just a little bit earlier, it could have been a very different story, but for now, it looks like the TheLowTemplar is going to be able to get back in this game just a little bit, on the back foot just for a minute, but does look like now still floating a lot of minerals. I would love to just see him throw down almost like Miles' number of gateways, like 15 or 18 gateways to just warp in zealots, like so many zealots, because this is a huge army. Actually, I wouldn't want to throw zealots at a bunch of disruptors, but in general, just like a way to throw a bunch of stuff at Kingwut that, just like he's kind of doing, split his attention between his second and third bases. I like this little sneak around force that's getting ready. Does look like Fleet Beacon is upgrading the... Now this is where I don't play Protoss enough to know exactly if that was a carrier base upgrade or a... I'm sorry, I completely missed. It's the Warp Prism. Interesting. I wonder if we're going to see any of that, but does look like the sneaky triple Void Rays in the back while the main army is distracted. Unfortunately, did come at the cost of TheLowTemplar's entire main army, and 3 Stalkers does not beat 7 Stalker, or 3 Void Rays does not beat 7 Void Rays very often. Those Phoenixes do look like, they need to get out of here once again. Phoenixes are great, but only when you have more of them than the enemy has of whatever they have, if that made any sense. But man, Void Ray Immortal, this is a tough army to defend against, even at the best of times, and it just looks like TheLowTemplar does not have a standing army to speak of. I think it's going to take a miracle once again to defend against this massive army. Immortals are just such a pain to deal with, even at half this number. And that's saying nothing about the Void Rays. It does look like a counterattack is trying to make something happen at the blue side of the map, but really, when you get this many Immortals on top of the infrastructure, it's going to take out the pylons. Blue's not going to have any reinforceability. He's got so much money in the bank and just wasn't able to spend it, wasn't able to recreate an army. Did a great job there of like distracting, pulling away the attention, and making something happen with those sneaky Void Rays in the back, but really at the end of the day, a game of StarCraft is won by killing buildings, and Blue has no way to kill the buildings of Orange right now. So many probes going down. You gotta wonder. Let's look at the. This is what Blue is looking at. Just assessing. Yep. And there we get the GG. It's official. We're going to a game number 3. Game number 3. In the top left of Oceanborn, we have the blue Protoss of TheLowTemplar. In the bottom right, we have, spawning is random, we got Terran. So we will be able to see Kingwut's Zerg in the first game, Protoss in the last game, and Terran this game. I deeply respect the choice to play as random. I think it's a, I think it's just a fun way to play, especially in a tournament. Like, it's so much chaos to try and like keep 9 different matchups in your head at the same time. Not that it's like, you know, not that he's practicing a whole lot in each of the matchups, but it does make for an entertaining 3 games to have, you know, the whole gamut of the StarCraft experience. But we are seeing early engineering bay from this Terran. It's Kingwut. It's Orange, Terran, Kingwut in the bottom, if I didn't say that. But does look like, let's see, double gateway going down for our TheLowTemplar Protoss player. This map, Oceanborn, is one that I think we have had some games on already in this tournament, if I'm not mistaken. I think last time I talked about there's some fish up here, and when units die, they float up because we're at the bottom of the sea. But other than that, I think there's not much to talk about. It looks like Cybernetics Core going down now. Forward pylon getting set up for a second base for the Protoss. Marine getting popped out for the Terran. And factory going down. Pretty standard stuff so far from both players. Nothing worth questioning or not questioning, but nothing worth pointing out that's too weird or wonky. Getting very standard looking game coming forward. Second pylon down at the bottom. Does look like gearing up for a Nexus sometime in the future. Command center is going down. And triple zealot out already pretty early. Delaying a Nexus in favor of some early army is a good move if you're feeling that something crazy might be coming. And if we take a look at Protoss's vision, doesn't actually know just yet what like even what race Kingwut is right now. It doesn't know if he's a Zerg that could be 6 pooling or a Protoss that might be cannon rushing. So he is now sending out a Zealot to do some early scouting. That Zealot eventually is going to... This is an interesting missile turret. This is very interesting. I wonder if this is like an anti-cannon rush strat. It does look like it blocks off some of the pathing that a probe might take, because this does look like a very good place to put an initial cannon or two, and then sneak a probe up and keep the cannons marching in towards the mineral line. Does look like the Zealot's just gonna chill out here for a second though. Command center finishes on the low ground. Some probes there to start mining here soon. Going to finish up the missile turret now. A good move, especially against Oracle heavy play like we saw last time, or invisible guys like DTs sneaking in. Honestly, just a good general strat to have a missile turret in each base. It shuts down a lot of crazy things that you can do. Stargate coming out for the Protoss player, of course. Fusion Core. I've seen this before. We're getting a repeat of game number 2 of last week when Braden broke out some battle cruisers against Protoss. Very interested to see if TheLowTemplar will have his air units up and ready in time to kind of combat that. I don't know off the top of my head, but I would bet that a Void Ray is a pretty good answer to a battle cruiser, just because the Void Ray can like supercharge that beam and make it do extra damage against armored units. And if there was ever an armored unit in the game, I think a battle cruiser would count. Does look like siege tanks also coming out, so we are going to see some more standard Marine siege tank kind of Terran defense stuff. Oh, hello there. What is this about? Oh, I'm sure that it was a scout. Let's see. Oh, no, I don't know what that was about. It doesn't look like...
He used his scanner speed.
Oh! Good call. Yep. That makes sense. Once again,
Battle cruiser is out.
Battle cruiser ready. Hidden third base, classic. Battle cruiser is going to be shown immediately as he chases down this scouting zealot. Real question is, will he teleport straight there, or will he keep his teleport, do the slow trek across the map, and be able to jump out at the first sign of danger? Does look like there's a good amount of stalkers and a really high amount of sentries, actually. And of course, the single Void Ray is going to be joined by some Phoenixes. I don't think that Phoenixes are as good against battlecruisers. They are anti-air, but Phoenix does extra damage against light. And battlecruisers, once again, not exactly lightest of units. That being said, Kingwut especially paying attention to get the gases up as soon as possible in this third base, which makes sense if he's going double battlecruiser starport, pumping them out one by one. Does look like battlecruisers teleporting in. And that actually kind of sucks, because these battlecruisers kind of need to be back here to defend against this massive Protoss army that's here. Will the Protoss pull back? Are they going to trust that they have enough stuff at home? Ooh, double Yamato takes out 2 Phoenixes immediately. The Protoss main army is going to be moving in. Does get some of these shields. This is so much action happening in 2 places at once. These battlecruisers do take out the stuff. They double jump back. No. Single jump back. 2 battlecruisers to defend. Hallucinated Archons. This is cool. Of course, the missile turret does show that they are hallucinated, so if Kingwut's paying attention, he can make sure to target the real stuff. It does look like those battlecruisers are so low, but they are going to remain and be healed up. One battlecruiser does remain to do some extra damage. There's not quite enough gas in the bank for Protoss. He builds 2 more Phoenixes, but again, that's not exactly what you want to get against these heavy units. Oh no, the power's going to go out to one of the Stargates right before the Phoenix can power up. One Phoenix does get out. He cannot take a battlecruiser on its own. The battlecruiser spins. Stalker and a Sentry are gonna... It's just too much. The battlecruisers once again clutch for Kingwut as he moves on to the semifinal round. What a game. Welcome back, players.
That felt fast.
That was fast.
I didn't. I don't actually know what the technological requirements are to build a battle cruiser, but I didn't think you could get one that early. And I definitely thought like a fleet of anti-air units and infantry that can shoot the air and micro that protect them from ranged weaponry would like do something. I was
you need
wrong.
a bigger mass of like stalkers.
And to be fair, Phoenixes are pretty bad.
Really?
Battlecruisers have like
Yeah.
3 base armor, which really hurts the Phoenix.
Phoenixes are really good against light air units like Mutalisks, but
That's about it.
yeah,
Oh.
yeah,
There
the
are so
battlecruiser.
few ways for me to fight air as Protoss. I kind of assumed anything that could do it was good enough at it.
Yeah, Void Rays are actually really
Stalkers are-
good,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
Yeah,
when I
that's fair.
scanned those star ports or stargates, I was afraid that I was gonna like send 2 battlecruisers into like 5 void rays, which would have gone very poorly for me.
I wish I knew that one detail would have saved me, because when I saw your battle cruisers fly past my
I was wondering if you
like
saw
scouts?
the zealot. Yeah.
Yeah. I stopped. I had queued up like 4 void rays, and I stopped them all to replace them with
Oh
Phoenixes.
no.
Because I thought that Phoenix was a better counter.
That
Yeah, the
cost
void
you
ray
the
with their
game.
active get a ton of armor damage, and you would be able to shoot them down.
That's really interesting, because I've kind of been out here assuming that all of the air units that can only target air are just really good at targeting all air units. But I didn't. There's sort of
Yeah,
a
it
Punnett
depends.
square there of do they have are they flying or not flying, and are they armored or light?
yeah,
Yep.
it's true.
I
Yeah,
think in
Phoenix are
the
good at picking off like Vipers and Mutalisks. Maybe Vikings. I don't know all the details of the matchup, but they're really fast. They're also really good at harass because you can lift.
Yeah.
I
so they're
think
good
in
for,
the
like,
StarCraft 2 race for the worst unit in the game, Phoenix is probably top 3.
Really?
Yeah, I think they're pretty bad.
Yeah.
They can't really take anything out in the air, and they can't really shoot anything on the ground.
Yeah, they're niche. You usually get like a handful because like 4 Phoenix in like small army fights can have the enemy ground force by lifting them, which is really good.
Yeah,
But
And for
straight
some reason,
air
the
to air
pros hate
fights.
void rays.
Yeah. The Void Ray's just been like nerfed into the ground, basically.
they're
I think it's still
expensive.
good, but on the pro scene, they're so expensive.
Yeah.
You really need like a big mass of them, so it's just hard to get up.
Stalkers are pretty good too if you have mass stalkers because they do extra damage against.
Yeah,
armor.
like mass stalkers blink under the battle cruiser and like 2 volley it down.
Yeah, it's great.
Is
Wow.
probably the best battle cruiser counter. And like Tempest can out micro them as well.
Yeah.
With the speed upgrade for Tempest. But yeah,
Additionally, I've been treating sentries like force field as just a reduction in all range damage. Is that accurate?
yes, it's
Yep.
2 less damage from range sources, which is not bad against battle cruisers.
Yeah.
With the
Right on. But yeah, you like teleporting the battle cruisers back to defend was a
Mhm.
huge play because it started to be kind of a base race. But when you called them back, I was fighting the bunker and the battle cruisers, and so I had no stalkers left.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw. I put a missile turret in every mineral line because it's like this dude is not gonna send oracles at me. Oh. But yeah, it was good.
Yeah, that was awesome.